Hi folks, this is a video preview of some of the great new features that are going to be in BRPG version 1.9 and BGE version 1.8. Since these are almost certainly going to be the last releases in the version 1.x series of my virtual tabletop programs, I wanted to make sure I left the software in the best state possible, because after this it's all going to be focusing my efforts on developing version 2. So the first thing I'd like to show you is how I've added support for subscriptions to the software, to both programs, via my Patreon crowdfunding campaign. And this is how it works. When you launch the program, it looks up on the server, sees that I am a current supporter of the Patreon campaign, and it issues me a valid GM client license in this case. So that's how subscriptions work. Another new feature is bulk licensing of art packs. Basically, if you go to the license panel and go to register art pack, you used to have to put in the code for each art pack that you purchased. You put it in separately and register it. And the problem is, if, like in the case of this recent Kickstarter campaign with Devon Knight's, 27 art packs, you don't want to have to do this 27 times. So now there's bulk licensing available. And the way it works is, in this field down here, you put in your email address, click on the button that says claim from server, and it'll check, and boom, 14 art packs have been successfully registered. It saves me from having to license each one individually. So that's nice. Next, I'd like to show you a new way to load encounters. Normally you'd press the E hotkey and choose your file from the list. Now you can do it via drag and drop. Just drag an encounter file, boom. There you go. So that's the new way to open encounters. Now, let's try it with a deployment file. Let's see here, and this one. Oops. There we go. And the reason I brought these two particular files here is I want to show you how you can, let me disable snap to grid, how you can group things together now. For example, if I select all of these and I click on group selected units, now when I drag the knight, those things accompany him. And this is kind of a neat way you can just add badges to a unit. For example, this happens to be a multi-token unit, so I can cycle through his life points up or down, or his actions remaining, so you can track things right on the map, not have to use the turn sequencer for everything. So that's pretty good. But what happens if you rotate the figure? Whoops. Sometimes you don't want things to rotate, things containing text, for example. So if you hold down the space bar while rotating, it'll keep things in their upright orientation. So, just an idea to throw out there in case some of you want to take advantage of this grouping ability. Alright, now we're getting to the good stuff. One of my favorite new features in the latest version of the software is this right here. Comes it's a zoom widget. And what is a zoom widget? Well, when you have your mouse near the bottom of the screen, up pops the zoom widget. When you don't want it, just move the mouse away. And notice if I've got a unit selected, the zoom widget does not appear. It only appears if you don't have a unit selected. So, just clicking on one of these buttons will zoom you in or out 50%. So a couple of clicks, you can go from 200% to 20% in 3 or 4 clicks. Okay, and if you hold down the shift key, it'll go in 10-degree increments. And what happens if you move the slider? Whoa! Continuous zoom. Awesome! Finally! Why did I not add this before? I don't know. But hey, there you have it. You can still zoom the old-fashioned way if you need precise adjustments. Maybe you're setting up with a projector, an overhead projector, and you need to align the grid perfectly with a real-world battle mat. You know, you can do very precise adjustments. But yeah, that's zooming in the new version. This should be of interest to people that do tabletop miniature battles. Let's load up this deployment file. We've got 16 swordsmen, and yeah, snap to grid is on. I'm going to group them. Now, if I drag just one, I drag them all. If I rotate the unit, they all rotate, and they maintain their relative facing. So this should open up whole new worlds for people who do tabletop miniature battles, play games like I don't know, War Machine or Warhammer. I'm going to load a deployment I made of a unit tray. I guess those people, those wargamers, know what unit trays are all about. This one comes in several sizes. I'm going to use the large one here. And I'm going to move the soldiers on top of the tray. Whoops, wait a minute. The tray is on top of the soldier, so I'm going to use a hotkey and send it to the bottom. There we go. And again, I will group them. Deselect. Now if I drag, I added this little handle to the tray so I could just drag it from there. Now if I rotate, it rotates on the center point of this tray. If I click on this soldier and then rotate, it rotates on using him as a pivot point. Like so. Well, sometimes you don't want the pivot point to be, say, this point. Maybe you want it to be this point, the very corner of the tray. Because according to certain game rules, that's exactly how you have to pivot the units. So let's add a means of rotating on the corners. Actually, let's zoom in for close-in work. There we go. I made these little graphics that you can just put on each corner of the base. You can also nudge these 1 pixel at a time to get it just where you want it. But okay, so I got my pivot points. Now I'm going to select everything and group it. But these pivot points on the corners, I'd like them to be unmovable. That's all 4 corners. So I can't click and drag from those anymore, but that's what this tab is for anyway. So let's say we're playing in a gridless environment. Snap to grid is off, the grid is hidden. This is how most tabletop miniature battles are played anyway. There's no grid. And let's say I want to pivot this formation using this corner. Pivot like so. But that's another thing I wanted to improve is rotation of units. There's now a unit widget. And what does that do? Well, let's see. I'm going to select my tray, and when I put the mouse down in the bottom portion of the screen, up comes the unit widget. The unit widget lets you move a unit just by selecting which way you want to move and clicking, and it lets you rotate a unit. So let's say I click on this corner and I want to pivot him, I don't know, counterclockwise 15 degrees, and that's the pivot point it uses. Let's say back up 90 degrees. Yes, I cannot, that's an unmovable unit I've selected, so I've got to click something else like the unit tray itself if I want to move in that direction. Alright, let's say I want to move a certain distance on the table, but there's no grid on the table. Well, that's what the measure move command is for. It'll move the whole unit a precise amount. Let me zoom out. Oh, that's another trick. If you've got the unit palette showing and you really want to change the zoom level suddenly, just click on this center square and it'll deselect whatever unit is selected so that you can quickly zoom in or out to do what you want to do. So now, I'm going to do a measured move again. There's a preference setting that'll round off to every 5 feet increments or whatever. You can measure, you can change the measurement unit to yards or feet or meters or whatever you want. So let's say I want to move these guys 30 feet forward, like so. Now that wasn't exactly forward. That was just eyeballing it. What if I want to move forward in a more precise manner? Well, let's say, first of all, I want to, let's call this a squad of swordsmen, because I want to put this guy on the turn sequencer. Include in turn sequencer. Now if we open up the turn sequencer, we see we've got our squad of swordsmen. Alright, why did I do that? Well, because two things. One, I wanted to show you another new setting, which is use large fonts in the turn sequencer. That makes everything bigger. Someone requested this feature because they use it on a very high definition display that's viewed from a distance, and because it's so high resolution, the small text becomes impossible to read, so they requested larger text. So now you've got the option of large or small text on the turn sequencer. Alright, but anyway, simply having this unit on the turn sequencer enables a new command, which is move forward. Alright, let's say I want to move these guys forward by 2 inches. I click on move forward, and 2 squares is 2 inches in this case, and the train moves forward 2 inches. No matter how they're rotated, let's see if I put them at a different angle so you can see them advance forward. And you don't have to do it via a menu command. There's a number hotkey you can use. Shift 8 is 2 inches, Shift 4 is 1 inch, Shift 1 is a 1/4 inch. You just move a bunch of 1/4 inches. Whatever you want. In many cases, just the measure move should do the trick. Okay, let's try something else now. I'm going to load a different type of soldier, an axeman. See, these guys have swords, this guy's got an axe. I want more copies of them. Well, let's say I want 8 copies. In the past, there was a duplicate command, but I'd have to duplicate them 8 times, or duplicate them twice, then select them both, and duplicate that 4 times, and so on. Now there's a new replicate command, which says make, in this case I want 7 more copies of this unit, and now I've got 7 more copies. Let me zoom in. Actually, this is good. Using the stack and stagger command, I'm going to separate these guys out to 1 per hex side. Let's see. All right. 61 pixels per hex. There we go, that should do it. So I've got 8 guys. Let's have them in 2 ranks of 4. And let's put another unit tray here. Oops, I had the caps lock on. That's the one we want. Send it to the bottom. And we can do the same thing with the corner pivot points, but I won't put you through that. Ah, wait a minute. Now, what I wanted to show you is this. Let's say you've got these 8 guys, and you want to intersperse them with these 8 swordsmen because you want a unit composed of mixed unit types. You can do that. Let's see. First of all, I'm going to ungroup everything. And now I'm going to select, let's say, this guy, and this guy, this guy, and this guy, and this guy, this guy, and this guy, and this guy, and this guy. So, these are the people I've got selected. Now I'm going to use the shuffle locations command to mix them up. So now you got some axemen. Let's try that again, see if we get more axemen in there. Arrange, shuffle locations. There we go. Now we got 1, 2, 3, 4 axemen mixed in there, and it's a mixed unit. If you're into that sort of thing. One other aspect of the unit panel is if you hold down the caps lock key, or just activate the caps lock key, it changes into nudge mode, so you can nudge things. You can either hold the button down or do distinct clicks to do, pixel perfect alignment of objects on the map. And let's see what happens if we change to hex grid mode from a square grid. The unit palette also changes to show hexes. Also notice that while you're dragging a unit, the unit palette will not appear and obscure your view, lets you work in peace. Also, if you're dragging the map, let's say I drag from down here, it disappears to get out of the way, because you're not going to be using it while doing a map drag or a unit drag. Another thing I just changed is that if you're doing a measured move, the objects now accompany the object while you're dragging. And if you hit the escape key, it goes back to its original location in case you changed your mind. That's also true of, let's say you're checking line of sight to somewhere, you can hit the escape key. And during any of these other functions, also the unit palette and the views palette don't appear anymore. I love these new widgets, the zoom widget and the unit widget, but I also realize that not everyone's going to like it. So the good thing is they're completely optional. You can disable whichever you don't want, or both of them, the zoom widget, the unit widget, and if you want your changes to be permanent, just save the settings and you'll never see those again. But I do love the fact that Battlegrounds no longer locks up when rotating units this way. Okay, I had one more demo planned, but I'm running out of time. I got to get this video done before the Kickstarter campaign ends. But basically the idea is you've got a troop carrier and you've got your little soldiers that can move around, and you can move. If I select the troop carrier itself, let's see, select nothing. Select the troop carrier, move it around, rotate it, and now let's say I want to put the roof back on this shuttle, which I had sideboarded. If I take it off the sideboard, it is still perfectly aligned with the craft it was attached to. So just because the unit is sideboarded, it still travels around with the unit. Hope you enjoyed this software preview video of what's coming up in the next versions of the Battleground software. The people that are supporting the Kickstarter campaign are going to get access to it as soon as it's available. Everyone else will have to wait a few months to get their hands on it, but this is what's coming down the pipeline. Hope you liked it. See ya.